This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Jeff Gardner.
Welcome to another episode of the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today we have another good neighbor on, David Bemmann of Sotheby's, which is the Bemmann Team, partnered with Sotheby's Real Estate. Dave, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Let's start off from the top. We've had a number of real estate agents on here. Not too many of them are focused on Muskoka, and we were just talking about your expansion to Simcoe County. Very cool. But what do you do? What do you do? What's Sotheby's? What's the Bemmann Team? What do you do exactly?
Yeah, we're essentially, Jeff, we're waterfront specialists by nature. So we focus on high-end luxury property. We have a deep understanding of what that means to our clients. It's a very different clientele. Ultimately, we're a marketing company, right? Like, we're paid to market properties, show them in their best light, take the best photography, do the best videography. We want to get the story of a property out there, the way it should be told. And every property's got its own story. And being a waterfront specialist, we tend to do a lot of cottages. We've expanded to Simcoe because we found there's a lot of waterfront property on Simcoe that's, generally speaking, underserviced. There's a lot of high-end, very, subtle money, but very, very high-end properties sitting on Simcoe and in this area. There's lots of farmlands as well that we'll do as well. I'll get into that. From my background, I did extensive amount of farmland sales as well. But we're a high-end luxury focused group. That's why we're Sotheby's. We're aligned with the #1 luxury brokerage in the world. You list your property with us and it goes onto about 17 to 20 global websites instantaneously. So the minute you list with us, you're across the world with your property. Sotheby's is an incredible brand. It's recognized as the top luxury brand. Small, interesting fact, Sotheby's actually owns Chestnut Park as well. So it's our little brother, and it does well, but it's not as global. We are truly the big brother. We're a global brand. And if you want your property exposed to the highest end, highest net worth people, you go with Sotheby's. So
I love it, man. It's an interesting niche. I got some questions about it because different from us. You're in real estate, but that's our niche as a marketing company. All of our clients are trying to get to that top 5% income earners. And that's our audience, is we focus on the wealthy. Nothing wrong with the rest of the markets. We just found there was a gap there. Not a lot of people catering to how do I get in front of the wealthiest people, because I'm not just a regular electrician. We're a really high-end electrician or a really high-end renovator. And there's businesses that cater to every aspect of the market. And we just found the wealthy were a little harder to penetrate and nobody was doing it. So that's why we did what we did. What I'm interested in from your end, especially from the consumer's point of view, who's going to listen to this, what makes a home luxury? Is it just the amount of money? Like, how do I know if my home is in that bracket to be able to call you? I mean, if my home's $10 million, I'm going to know. But we start at $1 million, we start at $2 million. Like, the average home price has gone up so much. What is luxury?
That's a really good question, Jeff. Appreciate that. Yeah. Luxury is having something that not everyone can have. So it could be waterfront. It could be a secondary property as a cottage, something you just go to on the weekends. That's a luxury. Looking out your window, having an incredible view, that's a luxury, right? Excess land. We've got tons of listings with hundreds of acres. And that's a luxury because you can build whatever you want there. You can hunt it, you can explore it, you can develop it. So luxury is defined, I guess, by those looking for it, but it's not a pure, easy definition, because you could have a very luxurious kitchen. You could have your build, with different windows. So I'd say Luxury is defined by having something that's not normal, something that's maybe a little more unique. And it could just be a build like over by Snow Valley. There's a bunch of very luxurious homes there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's small nuances like the size of your windows, the trim around the windows, the window operators, the quality of the windows.
Mhm.
So it could be defined by quality, unique attributes, but that's probably the definition line, something that's not normal.
So not necessarily it's not filtered by price necessarily all the time.
Correct. But it's maybe not sitting in a subdivision where there's 200 of them side by side. I mean, that's the easiest valuation. You see guys online, they're promoting a quick valuation tool. We'll email you a number for your property in 2 minutes. Well, that's because it sits in a subdivision and there's 100, 300 homes exactly like it or very similar. The metrics are easy to pinpoint. Where we specialize is I'm almost an AACI, which is the highest level of appraisal that you can get to. There's RCAs, they just do residential. An AACI is someone who can do commercial, farmland, farm equipment, residential. They can do it all, right? And so I did all the courses for it, but I didn't register it. I'm too busy doing real estate to be doing appraisals on the side. But out of curiosity and professional upgrades, I wanted to know. I wanted to know how to value properties. So, like those 2-minute tools, I find they're very aggressive realtors, and they'll give something to a client to say, hey, it's worth this, but our team will actually go out. Well, I have a rule: we can't value a property unless we walk it, because you can't understand a property unless you go to the property. You go top to bottom, backyard, front yard, check out the views, check out the build, take it all in. We provide a professional, we have to call it an opinion of value, because as realtors, we're not allowed to call it an appraisal, but we'll give you, the market dynamics. And what I like to say is we'll let you know what the market would bear for this property, which means here's where the bank would value it if you were just going to get financing, and here's what the market might pay for it. And then we create a strategy around that with our clients. So it's a very customized service that we give to our clients. We have a very high retention with our clients because they realize, wow, these guys really actually care about it. It's not a 2-minute, easy tool. It's all done with AI. That doesn't actually show, maybe you upgraded your kitchen. Maybe you threw a pool in the backyard. Maybe you bought the best lot in the subdivision, right? Where there's no traffic, there's no, bus stop at your front door. Those things matter, right?
Sure.
And so you got to take it all into account, and you don't want to leave anything on the table as a client. Like as someone selling your home, my goal is to get you the best dollar for it, right? So not only from the valuation side, but from a marketing side as well.
I love the attention to detail. I mean, really, it separates the boys from the men, or the amateurs from the pros. It is the difference. I mean, the difference between second place and first place in many things, not just business, but sports, is often a lot more work and effort, a lot more care. But it's those that when you get down to the nitty gritty, right in the granular level, the difference in data that's coming out of number one to number two could be staggering. And the experience could be a huge, huge difference. I'm curious because we do speak to a lot of high-end businesses, and I love hearing this question. As we keep in mind, in something like Simcoe County, Toronto, anywhere really, 9 out of 10 businesses are going to fail within their first 5 years and never come back. So that's a lot. That's less than 10% of businesses even make it that far, and even a smaller percentage make it there profitably. So the success rate on businesses is minimal. And here in North America, I think less than 3% of businesses ever get to $1 million in profit. Out of all the businesses, less than 3%. So it's very rare. So we like asking questions that could benefit a lot of other people. A lot of businesses, when we ask them, who do you sell to? the most common answer is anybody, everybody, anybody I can make a buck from. But what I find from the very best businesses is they say no a lot more than they say yes, because they want to serve one type of person, because they can give that one type of person a way better experience, which leads to higher margins, higher success rate, higher retention, lower churn rate, and it makes for a much more well-oiled machine. And that business is creating a much stronger impact on the world, or on their world, than the business that says yes to everybody. You just can't serve everybody at a 10 out of 10 level, because not everybody is your client. So I'm curious, you're in the luxury market. You guys pay a lot of attention to detail. It seems like you guys go above and beyond. Do you find yourself saying no a fair bit? This house isn't right for us.
Yeah, I'll actually talk guys out of properties. You know, I'll tell them honesty is paramount in our business.
Yep.
You know, I purposely have a small team. It's quality control, right? Like, I want to know what I've 2 sales reps and someone in our back office, you know, doing our Google and analytics and all that stuff. But we're a 3-4 person team. We've got one guy off on the sidelines right now on sick leave, but I did that on purpose, Jeff. I wanted quality control. I wanted to make sure that, you know, the conversations we have with our folks are pointed, they're detailed, we're very statistical, you know, providing guidance on, hey, if you buy, you know, I always say, buy good land, you can always change the build, right? So if you get the right property in the right location, you can't screw it up. You really call us for paint colors and advice on building, but you know, if you get a good lot, especially on waterfront, that's where it's huge. You could have similar metrics, but one lot, you know, maybe has train noise and road noise. One lot may not. One might have deep water. One might have shallow water. One might have a good view. One might have a poor view. One might be private, and one might be not private, right? So all those things matter in the end, because our goal is to help our clients, you know, either find their be all end all property, or if it's a stepping stone or an investment. You know, we have a lot of builders we work with on spec builds, and we help them basically from start to finish. It's a white glove service. And yeah, you know, sometimes you got to say no to buyers. You know, like, part of our job is to qualify people. That's why people like using us, because we actually go the extra mile. We'll find out a little bit about these buyers. You know, we'll make sure that their name Googles, you know, like they're not out of nowhere. If they don't show up anywhere, you know, we'll ask the important questions, because the last thing you want to do is not have your house close, right? So you get into bed with someone on a deal, and at the end of the day, they don't close, then you got a big problem. So we have a very good closing rate. Our clients are very happy, because, you know, a lot of times we pre-qualify the clients. That also means if you're listing your cottage or your house or whatever it is, that's a disruption to your life, right? Every time you have a tour, oh my God, I got to clean up. Oh my God, the kids' toys. Oh my God, the lawn hasn't been cut. It's stressful. It's stressful for our clients. So we want to make sure that the people coming to see these properties, especially at the high end factor, you do not want just anybody walking through your house. There's security issues. We show up, we open up the house for all our tours. You know, as best as we can cover with a small team, we try and have someone there for all tours, just as a set of eyes. We get a lot of feedback through that, you know, firsthand. You know, the clients call us, how'd the showing go? Well, you know, I was watching them. The wife was not interested. The husband loved it, right? You know, I think we have a good chance with this buyer because they said this during the tour. So those are things that, if you have an agent that's really active, that's really involved in your property, you get firsthand guidance and feedback from tours. You know, we can take away a comment. Well, you know, the last 3 showings, they all commented that the deck boards need to be replaced. Let's replace those, right? And that's feedback that you wouldn't get normally. So, Yeah. Do we reject tours? Yes. Do we reject clients? Sometimes, like if I call it the sniff test with the boys, but, if a guy just kind of isn't saying the right things, we get, I can speak openly on this podcast, right? So we get people from all over. A-list celebrities, actresses, actors, tons of hockey players, you name it. We've dealt with them. I think I had one day where I talked with 7 billionaires in one day about properties and stuff. I got off the phone and said to my wife, I said, wow, I think I talked to, 7 different billionaires today. That's pretty weird to say, but
Yes, I have not said that sentence before.
yeah. So I mean, our asset class is amazing, right? And it just attracts, the Muskoka Lakes just attracts a certain caliber level of people.
Yeah.
They all want to be there, and Simcoe as well. But yeah, like there's other people that call us, and I've had crazy people call me, and they just want to see these properties. They just want to get out there, and then they tell me they're in the hospital, and you're like, that's weird. Why are you telling me you're in the hospital? And then they're texting you all kinds of random stuff, and you're like, okay, this person's nuts. You're out. I'm never texting you again. We've got people show up and say, oh, I'm just waiting for the money to come in. Don't worry, it'll be there. Something's got to happen, and then I'll have the money. I don't want that. That's a what if. That's a maybe. That's not worth my client's time or my team's time.
Yeah.
So solid individuals, qualifications.
Yeah, and I'm glad to hear that, because it's a lot of businesses that aren't at that stage yet think qualifying customers is, I don't know, a negative in some way, negatively impacts their business to say no to people. Whereas I think they're doing a disservice to their market by saying yes to everybody. I mean, for us specifically, we serve service-based businesses here in Simcoe County that are looking to attract affluence. So we're not looking for commodity businesses. We're not serving a dollar store or an LCBO, something like that, because the feedback that we get from that specific client, like we have many real estate agents, that feedback loop, that positive feedback loop, the speed of which we receive the feedback goes so much faster than when we're serving 30 different types of businesses, commercial buildings, B2B, B2C. And so our growth slows down. Our team is sharpening the sword, metaphorically speaking, much slower, probably making a lot more mistakes. So I'm glad a guy like yourself that's serving such a high-end market is saying these types of things. These are the things we're trying to teach. And I kind of used you for a second to reinforce our point. It's a good point. It's one of the things I think a good business needs to know. Who do I sell to? Who don't I sell to? We can't sell to everybody. But let's talk a little bit about, I was going to say myths and misconceptions about the real estate, but we've had so many people answer that question. So if you think there's any myths or misconceptions about the luxury market, you're one of the first real estate agents on here to specialize specifically in luxury markets. Any myths, misconceptions out there? Like maybe as soon as we hear the word luxury, 90% of us think we can't afford it, and maybe it's more affordable than we think. Anything come to mind?
There's good deals out there. Not all of it's just priced ridiculously.
Okay.
Some of it is, and some of it's worth it. And I'll explain to a client why this is worth it. I mean, just had an $18 million transaction, and I said, guys, just give him the money. Just pay him, because this land will never go down in value. It's on Lake Joe, very nice piece, huge lot.
Did you say Lake Joe?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet, man.
Yeah. And it was, I could see it. I could see, when they build it out, they do what they want. They split into 4 lots. That's $100 million property when it's all built out, the way they were going to do it. So what's an extra $1 million to buy that property at the end of the day, right? So, we help people kind of understand what can be done. I guess that's a luxury thing. It's like, a lot of people buy properties, they buy a house for what it is. And on the luxury side, a lot of our buyers, they're very well heeled. So you're buying a place for $16 million, and then you start spending money,
Right.
right? Like
Rather
it's
than buying it for what it is, they buy it for what it could be.
they buy it for what it can be, what it can become, what they can do with that property, and the end result is what they're actually buying, right? The end result is, hey, I can get you 17 acres, over 1,000 feet of frontage, ultra private, Shanty Bay. We have a listing right now on Shanty Bay, and it's unbelievable. It's your own private estate, 5 minutes from the hospital, 5 minutes from Barrie, south facing shoreline. You can't see another house left or right. You go down to the water, you've got your own beach area. You can put a boathouse in there. You could have a 3-hole golf course. It's 17 acres, right? He's got a barn with like a huge, projection screen TV. It's its own bar, own pool table area above the bar, golf simulator, and it's got a full shop off the side of it, right? Like a massive shop. So a lot of guys will walk up to that property. The normal non-luxury buyer will say, well, $16 million, and that's what I'm getting. It's an old house. And a luxury buyer will walk up to that property and say, wow, if I knock that house out and built my mega mansion, my family would have its estate for life. Like I could pass this generationally through my family.
Yeah.
So
two different types of customers there.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. And another misconception, I think, Jeff, just kind of getting back to that and back to our previous conversation, is agents out there, they want to take on as much as they can get. Give it to me. And I had an agent from my office up north. He called me one time. It was like August, and I'm exhausted. I've been going all year. And he goes, Dave, oh man, yeah, it's a great year. We've got I think he said he had 45 listings, and it's him and I shouldn't say, they're not a big team.
Yeah.
2 or 3 people.
Yeah.
And I said, wow. I said, I don't know how you're doing that, man. I don't know how you're doing that successfully, because you're taking too much on. How can you fully service 45 listings? Like, can you imagine the amount of phone calls coming in on a daily basis? How many people you got to respond to? How, feedback for all 45 clients? Like, I'm sorry, that's just that. When do you have time to sleep or have a life or family? Right. And if you're just trying to crush quantity on the luxury side, it just doesn't work. You can do that. You can do that doing, you can take 250 listings with a 40-person team, but you've lost your quality control. You've lost, you don't know what all your agents are doing, how those conversations are going. It's your reputation. You only get one. Right. And I'm called the Bemmann Team. That's my last name, right? Like, that's my family's name. So I want to make sure that, we're handling an appropriate amount of listings. Like, I'd say if you're 10 to 15 listings, that's healthy. You can deal with that. When you get to 20, 25, I'm not going to be able to kiss my wife when, I'm going to get home and fall asleep on the bed at 9 o'clock and then go down to the office, wake up 30 minutes later, go down and finish my emails for the day. Like, that's incredible.
Something's got to give, right? I mean, we either expand the team, or we cut time away from our family. We cut time away from our health and our hobbies, or we cut time away from our clients. Something's going to be sacrificed. And I'm glad you brought that up, because like we were talking about a moment ago, a lot of businesses don't say no to anybody, but that's another part that comes with saying yes to everything, is what you just said. Not only are you serving clients you probably shouldn't be, but you're also spreading yourself so thin. I mean, I can't think at that. I've been in those stages. I think probably every entrepreneur has. Yeah. But what I learned from that was, at the very least, what not to do. We now know exactly the amount of clients we need to serve before we expand. to hire somebody else. And we do not go above that because we saw what happened to our lives when we did.
Yeah.
No
And
money is about to worth that. And you start service on somewhere in your sphere goes down.
yeah. And back to my comment of what the market would bear, we have people that call us and say, this is great. You asked us earlier, what defines luxury, what qualifies as luxury. We had one on the Severn River, a guy called us, nice guy. I said, sure, I'll go out and take a look. I went out and took a look. I said, this is an odd property, odd spot, wrong lot that he built on. If he built it on a different lot, he would have done a lot better. We got back to him. We said, hey, you did a nice job. We felt the kitchen was a bit weird with all the marble and, just the general layout. The upstairs had 2 small bedrooms and a shared bathroom. It was like the actual design of the cottage was like out of the lumberyard. Like it was not well thought out, not custom, kind of the run of the mill cottage build with a V-shaped front. It's kind of old school. So we gave him value, and he goes, "Oh no, it's we're up in the 3s. Like there's no way." And I said, "Well, I gotta say no. Like I can't take on this listing. I could. It's just not worth it for us to put the keys in the car and drive to it. Like why? I would get showings if I got some. Clients would get there and they'd be incredibly disappointed with the view, the waterfront. By the way, a train went right next to the property. So you have an active train line, within 3 lots over, going by, highway noise. It just wasn't worth $3.5 million. And then, so we turned it down and I said, good luck with another agent. It's just not worth it for us to do this one. So yeah, you're turning down stuff that just doesn't, the price has to make sense.
The whole thing, a list of criteria. I find the specialist that people that know their business better than anybody else have a list. If these things are met, we can do a hell of a job better than anybody else. If they are not met, maybe, out of our 10 things that we need, if 9 are met, okay, 8 maybe. But once we start getting to 7, 6, 5, 4, we just say no, because we've been down this road before. We specialize in this and no to everything else. So I'm glad those points were made, because I don't think there's a lot of people doing exactly what you're doing. The luxury market is small at the end of the day. We're talking single-digit percentage points of the totality of the market. And I think a lot of people stay away from it. I think there's also a common misconception that the rich are hard to sell to, that they're, penny pinchers. And the reason they got rich is because they never spend anything, which makes no sense. Once you see their houses and their cars and their boats and their cottages and everything, but the value has to be really high. So I think that's a cop out, because a lot of businesses don't think they can earn the sale from the wealthy because their value doesn't meet that expectation. I think anybody is willing to pay for something where the perception of value exceeds the cost. And I think that is true for the wealthy. If it's something 3 million, 7 million, 10 million, or 16 million, but that example you gave where that guy's now thinking, what could this become? Probably investment wise and lifestyle, quality of lifestyle wise, the perception of value is probably well above the 16 mil for that plot of land in the old barn.
Yeah.
I think a lot of businesses just don't think they can earn that business because their value isn't there yet. So I'm glad to hear you say those things. I think it could be beneficial to many others. Yeah. Pivoting a little bit, if we could, let's talk about you. Let's get into what brought you into real estate. If you could give us, I want to get into a few other things to find out a little bit more about you, but at least a little Cole's notes of what got you into real estate. But I'm much more interested into what got you into luxury real estate. Again, because I don't know if you had that misconception or that idea back when you first thought about getting into it, but I know a lot of people, a lot of business owners do. Selling to the rich is very hard. It's a very small market. It's a saturated market. It's a whatever. And that's why of the many real estate agents we've talked to, selling high-end homes is maybe just a piece of their business, but not the whole thing.
Yeah. Where do I start? I grew up with a cottage. I was privileged.
Cool.
My parents pinched their pennies. They got a plot of land for 15 grand, I think it was. It was like
Wow.
nothing. Yeah. They
Can't
bought
afford
it.
a bathroom for 15 grand anymore.
No, no. And they're on a lake, one of the best lots on the lake. Um, they wanted a cottage for the kids, and that was their dream. So they started there. We built it as a family. I got the privilege of spending every summer of my entire life up in Muskoka, being on the water. I'd ride my bike home from school. The last day, the mom would have the car ready, packed and running, and we'd throw the bike in the garage, and off we went. And we spent all summer there. Like, it was awesome. And so, I almost, I lived in a subdivision in Mississauga. So when we got home, the house smelled weird.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting, because when you spend that much time away, you don't realize that they put chlorine in the water, right? And you actually smell the chlorine in the water that you wouldn't know if you weren't gone for a while. So that was my childhood. What got me into real estate was hockey. I was playing hockey at Guelph University. Was BCom, and I was just lacing up one day, and the guy next to me said, "Well, what are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm in the marketing program, blah, blah, blah." And he goes, "Oh," I said, what are you in?" He goes, "I'm in real estate." I'm like, "What?" And I didn't know this, but there's only 2 universities in Canada that offer a real estate university level program, BCom. And one's the licensing school out west, UBC, and one is Guelph. And so Guelph University started this program probably 5 years before I got into university, around 2000, 1999. And the guy was telling me, as he was lacing up his skates, he goes, "Yeah, it's awesome. It's like a college course. There's 12 kids in my year." And I said, "Well, that sounds great." And I was in the marketing class the next day, and I thought about what he said. And I looked around my room. I'm like, there's like 400 people in this lecture hall, and there's 2 of these classes this semester. So there's 800 students in marketing that are going to graduate from this university, and every university has a marketing program. Every college has a marketing program. Like, what is my niche to go out to the world and get a job after this? Right. So I started thinking, and by the end of that lecture, the girl that I used to study with all the time and sat with me through most of the classes, we had the same ones. I said, I'm getting up and I'm leaving, and I'm going to change my program. And she goes, what are you talking about? And so at 5 minutes, I told her about this real estate program. I packed my stuff up early, 5 minutes early, went to get up. She grabbed my arm and said, "I'm coming with you." And so 2 of us walked in and switched our programs to the real estate program, which ended up being incredible. I graduated with a class of, I think, 22 kids. Mm-hmm. I was vice president of the program at a time. I started my real estate license. I fast-tracked my university, and my last semester I got my license done. When I finished school, I realized I already had like 8 courses accredited towards the AACI program out in BC. So because of the affiliation of the school, I was already advanced there. So that's what sparked me to finish out the appraisal side, learn all that. And right out of school, I got a job in commercial real estate. Did that for about 8.5 years. Worked with some teams, worked independently. Then I got a call one day, and it was the largest landowner in North America, Walton Global Investments. And they had scouted me and said, "Hey, we enjoyed, your communication style. We enjoyed your, how you looked at properties with us. So we'd like you to come work with us." And that process took about 7 months of courting. But we came to terms, and I left my commercial real estate career, went for land development and acquisitions. So I was one of their 7 buyers across North America. It was pretty cool. I joined one of my teammates and our boss, and we went to Chicago. We sold $60 million to a hedge fund. They flew in on a private plane, walked across the tarmac, got in our helicopter, 2-hour tour, boom, 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 handshake on the tarmac, got back in their plane to New York. and we sold 60 million from a helicopter in 2 hours. So when I left there,
That's pretty cool, right?
it was cool. It was a cool experience, and I learned about farmlands. All I dealt with was farmers, and they had all these lands around the peripherals of cities. I mean, Barrie's going through this annexation and stuff with Springwater right now, and so we were some of those guys who owned the farms just outside. We would do all the metrics, all the back studies. I'd write all these reports, answer to a buyer team, which was the owner of the company and some very high level individuals, and we would assess what was a good buy or a bad buy, what met our pillars of investment, which is does it have a good like Alliston. Just for example, in Alliston, I shouldn't say too much, I'm under an NDA, but I think it's public information that they own 5,800 acres out in Alliston, New Tech, that whole stretch just above the Greenbelt. Because they did the metrics. Honda's a huge employer, right? So they want all the land around Honda, knowing that they're going to employ people for years, and it's stabilized and it's good, and they'll be buying homes. They don't want to drive 2 hours to get to Honda. They want to live close by. So we bought all the speculation land. It's funny. You look at the maps. We created maps, and look. Mattamy owns 2,000 acres in this, part of, just south of Alliston. So-and-so owns, another 1,800 acres, but we had everything else. Like we bought everything that was available for us to get. And we just sat on it for years. Right. And it's a long-term investment play, but learned a lot about that investment side of real estate. Then they moved the office to New York. Ontario is a very slow moving province. There's a lot of red tape. It's worth it in the end. The property land values are, they spike once they get into a boundary line. Like I'm sure all the guys on the peripheral right now who own those private lands, that it might get, into a boundary line with Barrie. And once that land comes online, it goes from anywhere from 40 to 60,000 an acre to, I don't know, 90 to 120,000 an acre once it's inside a boundary line unserviced. So that's a massive difference in your investment. It's like an X factor, right? Oh, yeah. So understanding good land, where it sits, how it could be developed, or in 10 years it falls into a new boundary line. That's good knowledge. But it was slow, so they shut down our Ontario office, and that's when I said, do I want to put a suit on and go back to the commercial world? It was fun. I liked it. Or do I want to go to the cottage, spend a summer there, see if I want to do the cottage market? And I always toyed with it in the back of my head because I love cottaging. Did it my whole life, understood the lakes better than most people. So I spent the summer there. And then I started picking brokerages, and I said yes to a guy who let me bring my dog to the office. There was 5 people in his office, or I think there was one in the office that he had in Port Carling. I said, let me grow your Port Carling. Can I bring my dog? Okay, great. I have 0 office competition. I'm happy. I'll grow your brokerage here in Port Carling, which, it was a boutique brokerage, but grew it. At one point became the broker of record for them. Then I stepped down from that. And eventually I said, all right, guys, our morals and ethics aren't really aligning here. I'm going to take off and go to Sotheby's and start my own team. So that's the journey. That's how I got into cottage, waterfront luxury real estate. And it seemed to click. Like I had the work ethic of a commercial real estate, 7 to 7 guy on the phone 24/7, basically. And I had the background and knowledge of waterfront, what makes a good cottage, what doesn't make a good cottage. And I'm not a high pressure guy. So I think the luxury folks really appreciate that, I'm not a cheesy salesman. They can see right through that, in 2 seconds. They want honest, good, solid advice, patient advice. They don't want to be told what to do. You're not going to tell a billionaire what to do and what not to do. Jeff, you know this. You can't push a guy like that around, right? He's got more money than you and I together and everyone else on this podcast. Right? So How do you advise that guy? Well, you just tell him what you know, tell him what you can know, and find out the questions that he doesn't have time to do. And once you're done that, he'll make the decision. You just put it all out there, and then they make the decision, basically, of even the offer price. Eventually you build a reputation, you build your rapport, and then they start to listen to you. They start to understand the advice you're giving is spot on. But that takes so much time with the higher end luxury buyers.
Trust. Yeah. Once it's earned, you're in. But yeah, I can imagine it takes a longer time. How long have you been doing that for? How long has the Bemmann team been around?
I think we're going into our 4th year now.
Nice. It's been a good journey so far.
Yeah. It's been highly successful. Like, when you work under someone, you really got to pick that person you want to work under wisely. And a lot of realtors call me if they're in transitions because they know I'm honest. They know I'll give the straight goods. I'll tell them they're in a good spot, they should hang in there, or I'll tell them get out of there. It's not a good spot. You can grow, right? But it's been very good to be on my own, grow my team, have that quality control, and my business has flourished. I think we have over $150 million worth of listings right now. We work with some seriously high net worth individuals, and I have no problem. Like, my team guys, they know it's not about me. It's about our team. We all work together. We all march together. I'm going to pass along the leads that they are owed and that they deserve, and that honestly, some of them I just pass them along. Even if I know who they are, I know they're very wealthy, I also trust my team to work with them and do a good job with them.
I love it, man. We are getting close to the end here. A couple of last conversations. An hour goes by real quick. So let's do this. Anybody that's listening that wants to learn more from you, reach out, has a home, interested in waterfront property, what you do, what's the best way to connect with you? Socials, website, phone, email? How do we do it?
My cell phone. I'm on my phone all the time. Text me, call me. That's the best way to get a hold of me. And my number's out there in the universe, so just give me a call. If you're an email
website.
Pardon me?
Can I get it from the website?
Yeah. Our website, the Bemmanteam.ca or Bemmanteam.com. They've got our whole team listed there with emails, direct phone numbers. That's the other thing. You call us, you get us, and that's because we work with a niche market, and we want to speak to you directly. We don't want to put you through a funnel. We don't want to put you through the office. No, just call me, and I'll call you back.
Beautiful. Last question for you, ma'am. I'm trying to paint a picture here. We got you on stage, 500,000, 1,500, 2,000, whatever, of potential buyers, people you can impact in the audience sitting there. They know you, they don't know you, they've heard of you before. They give you the microphone for 60 seconds. What do you tell them about working with the Bemmann team? What do you tell them about the value you provide? What do they need to know in that 60-second elevator pitch?
Jeff, you didn't tell me I was going to have to give an elevator pitch here. Our goal is to have a fun, good experience with our clients, one-to-one. We're a low pressure team. We're going to help you make a sound, good investment decision, whether it's an investment in your family and family time. It's weird, and this sounds cheesy, but I sell memories. That's what I ultimately sell. When it comes to the waterfront side, dealing with cottages, we're not selling necessarily a cottage or a property. We're selling the ability for you to create memories with your family. And no one would understand that if they're a first-time cottager. When I say that to an experienced cottager and they have all family photos on the walls, I walked one yesterday, a huge log cabin on Lake Joe. Might be coming to market. It's got like 800 feet of frontage, super private, boathouse, garage, all the bells and whistles, let's call it. The thing that really I gravitated to walking through is all the family photos on the wall, all of them having a great time at the cottage, enjoying that time together. And to a guy who has everything, that's the one thing he craves, without a doubt.
Experiences with the family, creating those memories. Yeah, I don't think it's cheesy at all. I think that's why a lot of people would do that. I think a lot of people that don't have money as a constraint in their life, which is a few percent of people, most of us are out there chasing something, an ideal in our head, a fantasy of a future, something. And money is usually somewhere in the core few ingredients. So we work harder, we sacrifice family, we sacrifice health, we sacrifice friends, a lot of that, because if I can get this thing, all of that can change. Well, when that thing is already had to a degree that most people can't imagine, what do you do then? What else is there other than to create experiences when material gains no longer have any wow factor? 1 boat, 2 boat, 5 boats. What does it make a difference? I can't imagine anything more special for any human to create more time with their family, but especially if you don't have that big constraint that the majority of the rest of us do and are willing to sacrifice some family time to create that thing that we want to build. The guys you're talking to, a number of the people that listen to this show and some of the people that are our audience, affluent, they don't have that financial constraint. So now they're looking to live their best days. And a lot of that is experiences with family. Cottage 100%. Is a great place to do it.
100%.
Dave, it's been a pleasure talking to you, man. Before we go, is there any socials that you guys put out there, Facebook, Instagram, that people get connect with you on, or is it strictly the website best place?
Yeah. I'm not a huge social media guy. My wife will attest to that, but we do have a Bemmann Team Instagram account. We've got a Facebook account. You just kind of have to do it. We're slowly kind of getting to the TikTok, call me a dinosaur. But I find a lot of those guys on Instagram. It's all smoke and mirrors. Sure. We actually get so many of them calling us saying, "Hey, can I go and walk your property on Instagram and post it up?" No. Like, why? Like, it doesn't, oh, I have so many followers. Sure. I don't care. They're following you. They're not necessarily respecting you as a realtor or someone as an advisor. Like, how many of those guys are actually going to buy a cottage from you? So, I agree. It's a good medium source. We are on there. You can connect with us. We will, get back to you eventually, but, we're like a one-to-one. We're a very focused group. And that's what makes us successful is really that one-to-one connection with our clients. We're out there to sell property. We're out there to represent our sellers as best as possible, do the right things for them. And, we know we already have the best exposure, like beyond just being a Sotheby's agent, our web, like our website, the way it's set up, the way we have Google ads going. I invest tons of money online, but I'm not a huge social media guy. And there's some people say, "Oh my God, I do so much business through social media." Good for you. That's your focus. That's how you do it. We are just, you get on Google, you search for luxury, you search for Simcoe or Muskoka, you're going to find us.
Beautiful. Well, Dave, I appreciate the insight. It's a unique take on real estate. Not too many people are doing that. And the advice of niching down. I mean, we say the riches are in the niches. And I do strongly believe that more and more, because I just think being the jack of all trades, humans have been doing that for so long, it's no longer desirable. Become really good at one thing and service that audience really well. I think it's a good business model, and it seems to have been true for you. And I love that it's in our neck of the woods, man. It's a really easy guy to talk to. So if people are looking for luxury real estate, especially waterfront, give Dave and the Bemmann team a shout. And yeah, man, I look forward to chatting with you again.
Sounds good, Jeff. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely, man. Until we do chat again, you enjoy the rest of the afternoon, pal.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpwithjeffandsean.com. That's gnpwithjeffandsean.com or call 705-413-3775.